Hello everybody, welcome back to the Tsui no Sora Remake playthrough. This is the final episode today. We're going to be doing the Numinose 2 ending, but then we're done, genuinely. We have finished every single chapter, which is really quite something. Now, what's interesting about this ending is if I'm going to be honest, I had a little peek at the first few lines. They're exactly the same as Numinose 1. So, what the fuck is going to be the difference? That's my question, and that's what I'm really quite excited to learn. I wonder how not only everything's going to vary, but maybe if Numinose 2 is going to be a different explanation of reality to the one in Numinose 1. I really do wonder, and I'll be excited to see what they do. And, I mean, Numinose 1 was really quite thought-provoking, and it was very interesting. It was just one of the typical Skaggy philosophy-related discussions, really, where it just takes the most absurd concepts and then justifies them, and then makes you actually think about said absurd concepts in a way that makes it so that they're not entirely ridiculous and potentially even acceptable into the reality that you were interpreting. It's really cool how it happens. But yeah, we're going to be doing Numinose 2 today. Let's see what the hell this is about then. Because, yeah, I'm really excited to learn just what the differences are. And I love this cloud as well, can I just mention? I think it was so funny when the really odd Lovecraftian Cthulhu-like monster was coming out of the clouds, and it's just really quite funny how that kind of proves how... Oh, it just proves the immensely coincidental nature of the world, and it's just so interesting how much... I mean, I always just like to link it to the uniformity principle, how much of a lack of continuity there is in this world. It's kind of like the fact that that is a world where the world does flow with linearity, but at the same time, it feels like sometimes the world can just kind of be disrupted and then reality can change. And it is as if you have always been in that reality, even though it was only begun a few seconds ago. It's just so weird how concepts like that can kind of be applied to daily life. And I just hate that they can, to be honest, because you can't... I mean, it's hard to argue against unless, I don't know, maybe there are some sort of really intellectual mathematical arguments, or I don't know, just proofs that would require a lot of expertise to actually crack down. But obviously, I don't have any of that, so maybe not the best. Anyway, let's do this. Let's see what this is all about. Hang on, I'm just going to... There we go.
透明な白いや違う透明な白なんかない白なら透明ではない
Yeah, I mean, I always thought that if it's white, it's translucent, surely.
それでは半透明だしかし半透明ではない
It's a bit of a contradiction. I mean, you would have thought that if it's white, why is it transparent? Because we can only see the white light.
これを唯一
But obviously,
表現できるとしたら
I suppose that's just in the background, Yukito.
それは光
Yeah, I just find it so funny. That's the only way in which you can describe it.
これは単なる光なのか
It is, yeah. Yeah, it's unusual, that.
ここは学校なんで俺はここにいるんだ
Yeah, so it's exactly the same ending in the premise that he sees something that can only be described as light, and then obviously he realizes that he is at the school. But that's actually really interesting when you think about that. Isn't it ironic that an event like this, it really reminds me of... This is an odd thing to say, but when Yuki... I was almost about to say Yukito instinctively there, that's hilarious. But when Yuki reincarnates from the dream world, 1 out of 86,400, when she goes from the world in chapter 1 and then obviously begins the world in chapter 2 in her reincarnated form. But it's so weird how it kind of reminds me of this. Rather, this reincarnation here is after Tsui no Sora has occurred. So, I mean, I find it interesting that maybe that white world, it could be a little interpretation for what reality, but after the Tsui no Sora in the perfect world actually is like. But that's assuming the concept actually exists, which it doesn't really. Well, I mean, it depends on how, it depends on the observer if it exists or not, to be honest. Right. Yeah, but it's unusual when you think, could the white light have been reality for a second and then it could have been overridden, and it was as if you maintain the memories from said past reality, but at the same time the reality here you have is a reality that has just been born a few seconds ago. Yeah.
あの集団自殺から丸2日経った。そして奴らが予言していた世界の終わる日、1999年7月20日の翌日だ。
So this is another thing, this is completely the same. I just think it's so funny that summer break is literally beginning the day after tomorrow. Well, no, sorry, I mean, I suppose it's beginning tomorrow, but the first full day of summer break begins on Saturday. And it's ironic, if you guys know of Hyper Japan in England, I'm going to that then. So, I mean, it's going to be like, you finish school and then you have fun in a con. I mean, what could be better? It's going to be quite nice. Yeah. Yeah, and that's the weirdest thing. It really just gives me a vibe of July Infinity. Well, July Infinity or July the Infinity. Dude, just say fucking July Infinity. What are you even going on about? Yeah, and I agree with Yukito. I agree that more would be happening in a normal world, in one that equates with a continuous reality rather than the one that changes. Yeah. But yeah, exactly though, yeah. Everything is the same. It's interesting that we are re-experiencing. I just think it's really ironic that this shows the power of rereading. I mean, you experience the same plot, but you experience it so differently now that you know what Ayana has been proposing. It's just interesting how the thoughts discussed in Numineuza 1 directly relate to Numineuza 2. Or at least its beginning. I like that question. Yeah. Yeah, I like it. How did you get here though? That is a good question. Yeah, results inventing causality. That's what's happening here. Why are you here? I totally agree. I mean, my god, if I was going on... Imagine that. Oh, do you know what's ironic? We're actually driving to the con on Saturday. We might pass my school! Yeah, so obviously if I were to stop and look at the school in person like Yukito is doing, I don't think that would be very good. To be honest, I don't think there's a better time to read this visual novel than here. That's hilarious. But obviously, mass suicides have not happened at my school, so yeah, bit of a different scenario, but yeah, totally, I can see why he's saying that.
当たり前だ。確かに記憶にある。俺はクーラーの効いた部屋から外を見てて、なんとなく学校が
Results
気になった。
inventing causal T. But to be fair, it may be results inventing causality, or it may be a genuine memory. We're not actually told, if I remember correctly.
確か
You were on crack!
思い出した。熱中症気味で少しめまいがしたんだ。
Yeah, fair enough. I don't blame him,
だ
to
から
be
俺
honest.
は一瞬日光の白さに対して混乱してしまった。
Yeah, I don't blame him for having his AC blaring. To be honest, I would have the AC, but it makes too much noise, so I don't want to. Well, I don't even have AC in my house. I have a fan, that's about it. But I don't like the fan because it distracts me, so it's a bit impossible. I just think it's so funny that when you would question stuff like this normally, surely you would think that this is ridiculous, this is absurd. In this scenario it's not, and it's actually reasonable because it could possibly be what happened. Ironically, the truth of what has happened is very ambiguous, so it's up to us to piece together a scenario, really, and kind of like how it's up to Yukito to piece together something that's realistic.
いや、確かに記憶が。
Yeah, exactly. Are you really anybody? I mean, let's be honest, a personality is just a result of memories. A torrent.
俺だ。俺は水上ユキトだ。
Yeah, I like that. I see that. And it's such an unusual concept. Oh, shit. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
何が心理学だよ。そんなことはどうでもいい。くそ、暑いな。なんでこんな暑いんだ。
That's ironic. Shinrigaku is psychology in Japanese. Because Chirigaku is geography. I think that's really quite funny. What is it? Is it like shin as in the kanji for kokoro? Or what? Is it like kokoro and then reason? Oh my fuck god, it's exactly that. I actually got it right, that's cool. Yeah, it's kokoro and then the kanji that you see in Ryu. And then, yeah. That's quite cool. I was thinking that maybe it could be the kanji for shinjitsu, but no. I don't know, it'd just make more sense for it to be the kanji for kokoro. I just think it's really quite funny to think about the fact that it's as if the heat is something that distracts Yukito from his philosophy. He's just having such an intensive and very productive... Can I just mention, this guy thinks so many really intellectual and very productive thoughts in such a small space of time. I'm jealous of him, if I'm going to be honest. I remember when I saw Takuji at... I'm going to relate. Yeah, I remember when I saw Takuji in the beginning of It's My Own Invention, and he'd have one thought, and then... Oh, the thought would trail into something else, and then it would trail into something else. He could never keep thinking about one certain subject, and it was impossible to do anything because of that. I'm kind of like that sometimes, but I won't deny that when I get my head focused on something, I can focus fucking well, but not if that's not the case. If I don't have a reason to focus on something, I just can't really think about it well. That's why I like schoolwork so much, if I'm going to be honest, and studying. And that's why it's kind of the right thing for me, because if I don't have something to focus on, I just can't think, to be honest. But that's why I love these things as well, because they actually give me things to think about. Like, I have to have something to think about, otherwise I'm just desperately trying to think about one thing, and then I go on to another thing, and then I go on to another thing. I'd bet you anything the scene with Ayana's going to change. Imagine if Ayana's going to be a very evil Lovecraftian monster and we're going to hear that badass theme for one last time that we heard in the Kowloon Walled City building. But you had your AC on full blast as well. Is that something to take into consideration? Well, you think you had it, but okay. So that's actually really interesting, a detail I didn't really notice. Could it be a genuine indication that the world is not giving a temperature that is ridiculously hot? And could Yukito have experienced a world that has had a different temperature to this one? I wonder. But at the same time, I don't think that theory... No, actually, it could. Let's be honest, any of these add up as long as you can justify them. But, yeah, I think that one actually does. Okay, so this is not... I just want to get a direct comparison. I don't think this is the same. I don't think he takes refuge in the school building. I think he goes straight to the rooftop because of the fact that he sees Ayana there. Would I be right in thinking that? Yeah. Oh, I quick saved. Yeah. Okay, so this is where it differs, firstly. Yeah. And he doesn't see Ayana here, so he interprets reality himself rather than, well, having somebody else help him do so. Yeah, that's interesting.
自分の教室に行くか。
God, proper workaholic. Yeah, why are you here? Yeah, that's the only way you can justify what you were doing before, and the reason why you were in such a weird place at such an inappropriate time is because of the fact that you have a memory that you can justify it with. Whether that was actually the case or not, who knows? It just matters that you can justify it. Yeah, it's really unusual, these changes in temperature. Maybe it could have just been because of the fact that his body temperature was very hot for some reason. But why? Why would his body temperature be hot? I mean, because of stress, but before the light was seen, where could a stressful situation have happened? I don't know. Yeah, no, I don't know. I feel like the stress of being in an unknown location and not knowing what the hell is going on, that could have potentially raised his body temperature. And I suppose that explains why he's easily able to cool down. You can never tell. Ayana-san. Otonashi Ayana-san. From, Blumen. There. Iwata Miyu. From her. Otonashi Ayana-san. Yep, just casually coming into school even though it's after the summer break.
久しぶりって。あれから2日しか経ってないだろ。
そう。
It's interesting that. Maybe time has progressed differently for Ayana.
おとなしさ。
何？
あの後にお前は警察に捕まらなかったのか。
うん。
Interesting.
そうか。俺大変だったよ。あの後警察に捕まってさ。
Reasonable. I mean, he was literally on the rooftop when Takuji potentially suicided. Now, I'm happy something like this was addressed. I never really realised this, but I think this is something we've quite needed to hear.
でもまあ、仕方ないよな。
Totally. Yeah. If I'm going to be honest, I think he's very lucky to have been let off the hook and for his innocence to have been proven. Because let's be honest, in a situation like this, he could have been a person who has manipulated everybody in order to do it. But if he justifies his innocence well, then there will be a lower chance of the police potentially believing him, so he will be let off. He's got to be... It's really a vulnerable position to be in, because you are entirely at the mercy of the police doing their job fully correctly. Because if they do anything incorrectly, if they make any wrong conclusions, boom, you're fucked. Basically.
そう。ゆきとくん。
なんだ。
座らないの？
おう。
拓司くんがまだ死を
Oh,
恐れて
got a CG. Oh my god, what's going to be the CG? Oh, she looks happy. She looks like she's doing her evil expression where she has the... Oh my god, she's doing exactly that, yeah. This is the expression I had in mind, that's hilarious.
まだ彼が人間だった時にこんな質問した。
That's interesting to think about the fact that when his fear of death subsided, well, it was less of a fear of death when he became the saviour, but more a duty, an obligation, if you like.
生きてみたいって。
Yep. Before he found a way of coping with his trauma.
永久に？
拓司くんだけ永久に生きると仮定した。
世界が終わってもか？
そう。だって永久なのだから。
それであいつはなんて言ってたんだ？
そんなの嫌だって。
Yeah.
だろうな。誰だって嫌だろ、そんなの。
But at the same time, nobody wants death. A bit of a contradiction.
次に、拓司くんだけじゃなくて、すべてが永久の世界を想定したの。幸せな生活が永久に続く。拓司くんだけでなく、周りの人間も永久に生きる。素敵な彼女、素敵な友達、楽しい生活。それらが無限に続く。
無限に続くのか。どんな快楽でも、それが無限だったら地獄だろうな。それで
I like this CG.
あいつなんて言ってた？
It was very unusual as well.
もうやめてくださいって言ってたよ。
だろうな。
ゆきとくんならどう？
俺なら
素敵なことみさんがいて、素敵な友達がいて、楽しい生活。
素敵なことみさんって
どう？
どうって言われてもな。そんなのわかんねえだろ。
それはなぜ？
想像できないからだよ。
Reasonable. If you can't imagine something, you don't necessarily have enough information to actually assess whether it would be something that would be either a blessing or a curse for it to endlessly continue. But then again, I mean, but it is something that would endlessly continue. Like Yukito said, if you are surrounded in desires for the entirety of your life, you will go insane, and it's a hell that not even the worst tortures could come close to, really. And especially if you live forever and you do actually get one of the worst torture methods. How can something remain perfect for the entirety? How can anything do that?
永遠は想像できない？
なあ、死が想像できない
Of
よう
course,
に
yeah.
時間的な
reasonable.
永遠の生は想像
And you
がで
don't
きない。
want to as well. It would be too scary to imagine, to be honest.
それに対して何も言えないよ。
Yeah. If I'm going to be honest, if I try to imagine a life forever because of, you know, the speeches like "Steki na tomodachi." Wait, no, what is it? Oh my god. I didn't mean to say that. "Steki na kanojo, steki na tomodachi, tanoshii seikatsu." Those speeches, they have influenced my perception of what a life of eternity would be like, and as a result of that, whenever I imagine what a life of eternity would be like, I think of nothing short of hell. Umi Neko episode 6 spoilers, but if you remember that scene, the fucking terrifying scene where Basila was stuck in a logic gate room. Logic gate, I really just said that. Sorry, I meant a logic error room, and we are led to be deceived of his hopelessness, whereas we, like Erika, are totally being deceived on what Basila's true plan is. But when that happens, and Basila's only solution of getting out of there is, and obviously beating the closed room without the involvement of, right, full Umineko spoiler, but without the involvement of Kanon and Yasuda and the true culprit. Okay, full spoiler is over, but yeah, without that you can't imagine getting out. But you either endure eternal hell. I mean, at least what this would be is eternal happiness. This is eternal hell, and if you want to get out, you have to dismember yourself so much that you fit through the fucking plug hole. I mean, yeah, with a solution as ridiculous as that, and the prospect of living for eternity. I mean, I get that Umineko is all just a story inside a story, but yeah, not a very nice prospect. And things like those, that is always what I think of when imagining what life for eternity will be like. And I always imagine somebody's, well, a body as well. I mean, yeah, you may have a life of eternity, but your body is not standard. Your body is not within the standards of living forever. It lives, I don't know. I suppose the max time a body can live is like maybe 150 years with current medical technology. Or maybe not 150, I don't know why I said that, but maybe at the very most like 125. How old is the oldest person in the world? I feel like this is something I learn about when I'm a kid. Oh, right, okay. Oh, damn. 122. Oh, wait. Oh my god, so the oldest person in the world is in the UK. That's insane. God damn. This person's still alive as well. 115 years old. It's quite impressive. I thought it would be a bit more, but still. I mean, 115 years. We can't even imagine. I can't even imagine a life that has lived for like 40 years, never mind a fucking 115, and never mind eternity.
それはちょうど自分の死を本来的には想像できないようなものだ。いつまで経ってもそれは他人の死から得た比喩としての自分の死でしかない。
I mean, you can fantasize about it, sure. I bet you everybody has fantasized about how they're going to die at least once in their lives, but you can't ever fully know. But by experiencing the stories of infinity, and, sorry, by experiencing the mentioning of infinity and that concept in the stories I've read, I can't gain a full picture of what it would be like to live eternity. I mean, let's be honest, even with our view that considers a lot of the bad in this said concept, it's still naive because, let's be honest, there would be, that hell would only be so bad when you experience it.
「死の直前までは想像ができるだろうけど、死そのものはまだ誰も経験していないし、そしてまた、
Yeah.
永久に誰も経験できない。
Yeah, totally.
死という言葉には経験不可であることがすでに内包されている。
Yeah, you can't experience death and be alive.
だったら永遠に生きるってことも
Yeah.
同じだよ。今もって永遠に生きた者はいない。
To be fair, I think this person here is a bad person to say this to, but I get what he means. Because you don't actually know whether that's the case or not for Ayana.
宇宙誕生とともに生まれたものでも138億年しか生きていない。こんなものは無限の前では一緒だ。
Only. It's unbelievable but true.
人の脳に体感としての無限を押し込めることはできない。
Yeah.
それでも人は無限を扱う。それこそ学校で無限の扱いを習う。
Yeah, that's reasonable actually, yeah.
数学とかだとな。ただそれは数学としての無限でしかない。
人は観念としての数字を操る。そしてその数式で世界を解明しようとする。
Yeah, that's fair. You use numbers as a means of representing and logically explaining an idea. You reduce something that's so unknown into something that can actually be understood.
不思議だな。なぜ人の頭で作り出された
I know,
数字
that's
なん
the
てものが
weird thing.
世界を説明できるんだか。
But then again, I mean, this is the most odd thing. Does it provide an objective explanation for the world, or does it just provide an explanation that is subjective to human beings? That can obviously be agreed so much that it feels objective. But what I find very weird about all of this is, if there was a different civilization that had a different unit of measurement that lived on exactly the... Sorry, not... different numerical system that lived exactly on this earth and a different way of representing things, would they come to the same conclusions about the world that we do? But the thing that I find very odd is, let's say you have this really, really difficult mathematical equation you want to prove. You use... No, actually, let's... Oh, what's a good example? Well, just anything. No, let's do proof. So you want to prove a really complicated mathematical equation, but you use other bits of logic that have been derived from number. What? Oh, I've got to. I know what I'm thinking. I just don't know how to communicate it. Well, okay, you prove something with something else that has been proved by human logic, so everything is just down to how human beings have tried to explain the world. Hmm.
数字は人が作ったものなの？三角形の内角の和は180度であることは人が存在する以前では定理足りえないの？
どうだろうな。わからないよ。
Yeah, exactly. You can
人
never
が
know.
存在する以前から数学的な真理は不変であったのか。こんなこといくら考えても答えは出ない。
Yeah, exactly. And there's not really much evidence for it either.
なぜ他の動物は数学を使わないのか。なぜ生物の中で人間だけが数学を使うのか。考えてみれば不思議だ。
well, let's be fair, to use maths, we've got to have really quite high thinking abilities. You've got to have, with a lot of math as well, what happens is it's written down on paper or it's written down on something. You've got to not only have the motor skills to write something down, but you've got to have equipment, correct surfaces, correct environment, I suppose, and maths is something you study. Well, no, actually, I mean, yeah, so I suppose it doesn't necessarily have to be math that you study, but I suppose also just numerical systems. Why do we have one whereas other animals may not? But there's the question we want to ask, how do we know? But then I'd think that because we have more complex thought than a lot of animals, we can actually use stuff like this because we've got the intellectual capabilities of having it, of being able to contemplate it. But then again, why can't octopuses? Or something like that.
Yeah. 犬は1という数字を使うのだろうか。
Yeah.
例えばゴリラは彼らは氷を使うのか。鳥は昆虫はアメーバは。
This axiom thought that is generally true. Yeah, we saw that word yesterday. Yeah, I thought so. I thought I recognised it.
もし数学的真理が宇宙を構成する秩序であるならば、
Yeah.
なぜそれ
Yeah,
を
no, I see that.
生物は使わなかったのだろうか。動物は学校で習う数学なんかよりも高度な物理現象を使っている。例
That's
えば
reasonable.
量子力学でやっと分かったことですら。
Yeah, no, I see that. I mean, I swear animals use the magnetic field of the Earth in order to aid their navigation, for example. I mean, how the fuck can something like that even happen? I mean, that's a good example. I don't know if that's true though. Let me just check. Yeah. Some evidence for this ability has been proved. And they use it for navigation. It's called magnetoreception. Weird. That's cool.
Oh my
fucking god, dude. Stop reading my mind. Oh my god, that's hilarious. Out of everything Yukito could have said, there's something about magnetic fields.
未だ人類では不可能だし、そもそも生体の温度と湿度のような場所でなぜ量子状態を長く維持できるのかさえわからない。
Fair enough, yeah. So what actually is quantum entanglement? I've never heard of that before. Oh, that's really weird. When two particles link together in a certain way, no matter how far they are in space. The state remains the same. Oh, so photons do this, right? Oh my god, that's hilarious. So this is analysed to falling in love. Yeah, they share a single quantum state. So this is an article that explains a lot of this through a really quite unusual analogy. So the amount by which objects share a quantum state. Yeah, that's fair enough.
鳥どころか植物の光合成においてすら量子コヒーレンスが存在している。生物はとてつもなく高度な物理現象をいとも簡単に使っている。
Yeah, no, I totally see that. I mean, let's be honest, you cannot single out human beings here. The amount of mechanisms in the human body is absolutely ridiculous. But at the same time, I can see what you're saying, and the fact that human beings, it feels like, well, then again, no, I can't make that argument whatsoever. I mean, we can run, we can go on two legs, we can, use the body the way we've been using it all of our lives. Look at, for example, birds. They can fly, but can they walk on two legs easily? No. I mean, look at birds like, for example, magpies. They literally just hop on the ground. They can't even walk like a normal, for example, a normal person would, where you put one leg on the ground and then another in succession to it. It has to be two legs on the ground all times, and it has to hop. Or when birds, they bob their heads forward, so that, I mean, I'd assume so that it doesn't. So that they don't topple backwards. I don't know though. Wait, actually, let's see if there's an explanation for why they do it. Yeah. Yeah, so it allows them to focus on their vision and also stabilize themselves. But we don't need to bob our heads to make our vision stabilized, for example.
にもかかわらず、植物は量子力学を理解しているわけでもない。
I mean, just look at the mind, for example. We don't fully understand everything related to the mind. And yet, at the same time, we're trying to.
磁場を見ることができるコマドリは、視覚細胞の中に量子もつれ状態を人類のどれだけ優れた実験室よりも長く維持しているが、
Yeah, totally, yeah.
その原理を知っているわけではない。
I mean, let's be honest, these things don't even know what is going on within their body, or at least you'd think that. You can't actually realise that until you, I don't know, look into their thoughts, if they even have thoughts. It is really weird to think, what does an animal actually think? But anyway, that's a question for another day. Yeah, it's a funny question, that. No, a funny thought, even.
数式で表される記述
But
が
we don't. Nobody understands the principles of the world we're even living in.
なぜ人だけがそれを使うことを許されたんだ。人だけがなぜあらゆる対象に対して1と呼ぶことができたのだろうか。なぜ俺のこの1本の指とサバンナの1匹の象と板書によって書かれた1というチョークの線、時計の針が指している1という記号、これらすべて同じ1の形で理解したのだろうか。
Yeah.
そしてなぜその数という観念は数式を作り、そして宇宙の秘密を解き明かすことがで
I
きる
mean,
の
the
か。
fact that it can, it's fucking ridiculous. It really is. You just really wonder how things like these actually started and why they had a need to start as well. I mean, for example, in maths, the most recent thing we've done is integration by parts. I mean, like all of the functions and just in general the components that are required for something like that to actually exist. I mean, I'll give you examples. I'll give like logarithms, exponentials, integration, differentiation, and I don't know, trig functions, inverse trig functions. There was another one as well. Oh yeah. Algebra, maybe. Yeah. So many, it's ridiculous.
Yukito 君は観念と物理世界が別々のもの、交わらないものだと考えているの？
I just find it funny to think about the fact that while we are very knowledgeable about, or at least specialists are very knowledgeable about the processes that go on within somebody's body. Actually, I've just kind of thought of something really quite key. I mean, let's be honest, the general public, they have a rough idea of what goes on in the body, but we don't fully know. We don't fully know everything until you talk to a proper specialist who knows what they are talking about in the subject. Or if you read it online as well and you use realistic sources. So I suppose only the people who have been selected to be able to understand by themselves and by everything around them in their lives, they can understand it only fully. But at the same time, people may try to understand, and they've been trying to do it for years, about what our reality truly is, and that, yet at the same time we can't do it. But I do see that, yeah. You make use of it, do you necessarily have to understand how it works? I just think it's really interesting that math is a means of explaining the world, the phenomena of the universe, and yet at the same time everybody who experiences the universe, even though every being experiences the universe, human beings are the only ones that are actually permitted and have the ability to use math.
そりゃ観念俺が
Yeah,
頭で
yeah,
考
true.
えたあらゆる意識ないよ
And if anything,
それと
ironically,
世
I
界に
mean,
実在する物体は違うだろう
there's a shit ton of times where math has actually been able to predict things that have happened, but at the same time, I mean, could you imagine if there were a lot of things that have been proven that even though the logic is there with human reasoning, if that human reasoning in itself is wrong, then the whole thing's wrong, surely?
思考する実体と延長した実体とはつまり同一の実体であって、それが時にはこの属性また時には違う属性のもとに理解されているだけかもしれない。
That's a really interesting little statement there.
延長の様態とその様態の観念とはつまり同一の事物であって、ただそれが2つの仕方で表現されているだけかもしれない。
難しいな
Oh yeah, I think I get that.
どういう意味だ
こんな言葉がある。神と神の知性と神によって認識された事物は同一である。例えば自然の中に存在する円と同様に神の中にあるこの存在する円の観念とは同一の事物であり、それが異なる属性によって説明されるのである。
神か難しくてよくわからないがつまり
全てが神の無限知性のほんの一部から出たものに過ぎない。例えば一匹の猫がいる。この時の1も猫も観念的にも物質的にも無限要素の一部でしかない。観念の秩序および連結は事物の秩序および連結と同一である。
なるほど観念が現実世界に合うような形式をしているのは同じく無限の神の一部でしかないからか。だったら観念と物質という2つの叫び
Yeah, I agree, yeah.
全てが無限の神の知識と様相であるのならばそれらは一つでしかない。その1は無限がゆえに善であり、そして人間もその無限平面の連鎖上の知性の一部だとしたら、人も一でありながら善と連なる。人の断りの中にも宇宙の断りがあるって感じか。そうか。 人間は神の一部だって考え聞いたことがある。確か
バールーフ・デ・スピノザ。
It's unusual. Wonder where that's from.
なるほど。さっきまでの言葉は全部スピノザのものか。そういえばスピノザは永遠を時間的なものとして捉えてなかったらしいな。我々の観念も感情も知性も身体も全てが無限の中で比類なき一部分である。だとしたら我々のこの瞬間は永遠の一部である。だとしたら人は永遠の層に生きることができる。その
Didn't
ことに
expect to see
比較
that.
的であれば
So what actually is this? Oh right, so that's actually from Spinoza. Oh my god, that's unusual. So if we examine our lives in the context of the cosmos at large, subspecie eternitas, we cannot escape life's meaninglessness. To find meaning in life, you have to only look at the concept of here and now. So I suppose in a universal perspective, in a perspective that has eternity, that is something that is considered. Tell you what, I'm just going to have a little break. And I'm also going to lower my volume while I'm there, I think that might help. Okay. Back now. I think this connection between idea and reality is something that's very surprising, but at the same time I do find it really odd how, as something that has been completely thought up by humans, something that has been created by our minds and our innovative thinking, has actually been able to not only explain the world but predict events. What is the biggest thing that has been predicted by maths? I'm going to check that on a Google search. What's the biggest thing maths has predicted? Okay, so what's the biggest asteroid that has been predicted? I haven't got a definitive answer, I've just got lots of answers. What's the most deadly predicted asteroid that has actually come true? Okay, so I'm getting stuff about the 2024 YR4, but I'm not actually getting any information on. Oh wait, okay, so asteroid impact prediction. Maybe this is relevant. Okay, let me just pause the video quickly. To be fair, I've been trying to look for good examples, but I've really not been able to find any in general. But I mean, I'm just thinking in general. I'm not entirely sure on what the industries fully do, but I suppose, well, I don't know, your geophysics related stuff and your hazard predictions and hazards management, and I don't know, it could be tectonical hazards, like for example, earthquakes and volcanoes, just natural hazards that threaten a lot of tectonically active countries, like, I don't know, Indonesia, Japan, Iceland, places like those, and Hawaii, I suppose, just for some examples. I'm sure things like those are predicted by maths, and obviously it just depends on the validity, well, it just depends on the strength of the prediction and also the amount of equipment they have in order to make said predictions, and obviously reliability on measurements. But yeah, I mean, that's probably a good example of something that can be predicted using human logic. Like, you can predict a real world thing because of how you have reasoned with said real world concept with human logic. And it's just so weird to think about the fact that if you do it correctly, I mean, there are the most fucking complex physics equations, and yet at the same time, they are reasonable because of human logic. And they actually show stuff as well. Wait, actually, I'm going to search it up. What is the most complex physics equation? I'm going to regret this, aren't I? Oh my fucking god. Wait, you're telling me this is... Jesus Christ. Oh my god, I'm finding things that are absolutely horrible. I mean, I'll just show you what I'm seeing now. But this is horrible. I mean, Jesus Christ, this looks like a fucking scripture, not an equation. This as well. This. And these probably mean all different things as well, which is ridiculous. Oh, these look like... Are these different... Yeah, these are 3 different equations. What is this? God. Yeah, when people say high-level math is another language, I get what they mean when you see stuff like this. Double integral as well. God damn, what the fuck is that? I've read it, but yeah. Oh wait, it says, is it a legitimate equation? Oh, right. Okay. Jesus Christ. Well, that's a bit of a nightmare. Yeah, but how can things like that explain things? It's just a really cool little link that can be made, and it's interesting how you can use God to explain that. I just want to kind of reread it so that I can immerse myself in it as much as possible, really. Yeah. So then you've got to ask the question of why do people make mistakes, and why is it the case when people use wrong logic to prove something, and obviously they make a wrong prediction or they prove something incorrectly as a result, even though they could probably justify their logic with incorrect logic as well, I suppose. But or maybe you could use correct logic in order to justify something incorrect. But yeah, what I'm trying to say is why is it the case that only the right predictions and only the things that are correct reach the truth? If everything's just part of an infinite God, then surely even wrong ideas should be correct, maybe? If there's no difference between ideas and reality, then why is it possible for ideas to be wrong? Because they are not what is reflected in reality.
Baruf de Spinoza.
I suppose that's reasonable because we technically live in eternity, it's just we live in a part of eternity. We live in a mere instant, or an instant of an instant, or an instant of an instant of an instant.
そう考えれば永遠も悪くないかもな。
本当にそうなの？
本当にそうなのか。
Oh yeah, if they're really wide, could this be a very bad mistake that you were about to make?
どうだろう。本当にこの世界は無限なる知性や様相なのだろうか。確かにそのような神がいるとしたら、我々は永遠の層に生きることができる。
Wait, I'm finding it a bit... I'm struggling a bit to find the connection between this. Hang on. It's actually really quite interesting to think about the fact that if our ideas directly translate to the logic of the world, that could potentially have been created by God, I suppose. We can live in subspecies aeternitatis because of the fact that... Well, I suppose if you think of God as infinite knowledge and infinite... Well, I suppose infinite intellect and also infinite omnipotence, if anything. I suppose then if human beings' ideas can reach something that is matched by the person who may have created the world, then I suppose why is it, and if ideas are like that, it's quite unusual, but is that what then makes it so that this links with the infinite? And it makes it so that we can view the universe within a perspective of eternity and within a perspective of infinity. That's really weird. So I'm struggling to see the connection between this, but maybe we'll find it out.
だが同時に観念と物体にある 絶対に超えられない奈落が知らぬ間に消失しているかもしれない。それら別々のものと思われた2つは神の違った様相にしか過ぎないのだから。だとしたら
That's so
だ
weird.
としたら
I like that, yeah. Yeah, because I suppose if you like, you could think of the fact that the mind explains what is happening in the body. And it kind of reminds me of the idea of ideas creating explanations for phenomena that are going on within the world.
無限なる神がもし秩序に対してそれほど関心がなかったら。
無限なる神はいかなるものにも関心などない。感情的起伏とは不完全ゆえのものであり、そのようなものがあるものをそもそも神とは呼べない。
That's interesting, especially when you think about the question of why is there suffering if God created the world. And then you tie it into this, the fact that it has no emotion, it has no interest, and it has no emotional fluctuations as well. Because of the fact that that would be an imperfection. Yeah, exactly, yeah.
そして無限はいかなるものも禁止しない。神はどのような秩序も作らない。
観念と現実世界の差、それを分け隔てる絶対に越えられない奈落の亀裂は。
無限なる神は絶対に越えられない奈落の亀裂など保証しない。
もしそれが禁止されず、観念と現実世界を分け隔てるものがなければ。
奈落という亀裂、そのことによって人々は救われているかもしれない。だがその亀裂がなくなる場所があるかもしれない。頭で考えた世界も物体世界と言われる現実も違いなどなく、それらに境界線などない世界。
Yeah, that would be interesting. So I'm just a bit confused about this abyss concept. Oh, okay, yeah.
バカバカしい。そんな場所があるかよ。
Oh my god, I like that this is tied in. Yeah, because it's an actual indication of the fact that here it is as if the boundary line is really quite hazy, because there's the question of whether it exists or not, and I really do wonder if you could think about that this kind of has a similar question. Everything that happens in Tsui no Sora, is the visual novel really is the visual novel really the same point in time happening with multiple perspectives, or is it one soul experiencing the same things as different personalities with different memories after well, so I suppose a world ends and then, like, let's say Yukito, then Yukito's world happens and then his soul kind of makes it so that he experiences it as Kotomi. It's a short life that has been made with all of the memories that have been... Well, I suppose it's a life that has been made, or a reality that has been created just 5 seconds ago, and all of the memories that have been related to Kotomi have been infilled for her. I mean, I really do wonder if you could think about that theory. I do wonder, because it just doesn't really make sense for the story. I mean, no, actually, no. I need to rephrase that. It does make sense for the story to be different perspectives, but at the same time, I really do wonder if... No, I don't see... No, I think I'm being a bit ridiculous. Actually, I'm not really sure if I'm going to be honest. Find it a bit hard to tell. It's because we haven't really been given much information on whether something like that could actually be the case, but I suppose that kind of depends on how you want to interpret this story. If you want to think about the fact that the ideas of the continuity of reality being very fragile that are presented here apply in the entire visual novel, then maybe a theory like that might be for you. But if you don't really have time for any of that, you could just think that there's the same event being perceived by different perspectives, I suppose. Oh shit, we might get an answer here.
20日まで君が間宮拓司であった。
Okay, yeah, fuck everything I was saying then. Oh my god, what?
君は間違いなく20日まで間宮拓司の世界を
What? Oh my
その
god.
先にある対の空を見た。
Yeah. Yeah, so that has to confirm my theory. Well, no, it doesn't necessarily prove it, but it could prove it, but it doesn't necessarily prove everything. It proves that Takuji, well, the nature of Takuji's reality is fragile, but it doesn't prove what has happened with Kotomi, obviously Sakura, Yasuko. That's so weird. But then again, that does kind of make sense. I mean, why is it the case that the ending that we have in Chapter 1 has any effect on... no, sorry, in Chapter 5 has any effect on what happens with Yukito? I mean, surely that's Takuji's chapter. I like that. That does make quite a bit of sense, but that's so fucking weird. Ah, yes, I'm just going to tell you that your reality is a total lie. Well done. Nice thing to learn at school. Well, sometimes people teach you things that aren't really covered in school. I think this is the one of them.
今の君は間宮拓司だった視線かもしれない。
Funny that Ayana is the one looking at you. I find that very interesting. Because objectively, I mean, I don't necessarily know what all of these biologically would be like, but maybe it could be this. If this is a biological explanation for what happens in your brain while said emotions happen, it could be the case. But how can this connect to any emotion? I like how you can really simplify that.
だとして
I just love that he has justified this so much that he can actually accept something that sounds as ridiculous as this.
どうなんだ別に問題なんてないさ
To be fair, it doesn't. He has all of the memories as Yukito. He feels as if he has experienced reality from Yukito's perspective. And if anything, that kind of highlights the continuity of, the value of memories, if anything, because he feels he is himself, even though he is objectively not. He was Takuji a few days ago. But it's just the power of memories.
無限なる神は確かに全てを禁止していない 神は観念世界を現実世界と混ぜてしまうことも許すだろう
I remember that idea of the fact that the world can actually exist. Two ideas that are completely contrasting, overlapping, and the series of coincidences within infinity that have arisen for the world in the present to actually be able to exist and to inhabit human beings as well. But yeah, that's interesting. I like that though. It is kind of the conceptual world. Let's be honest here. The value of memories that has been discussed in both of these endings, that is only a concept. Whether it actually reflects the real world is something that you can't tell or not. But this said human concept that has been thought up has then been totally adopted into reality. Oh, this is actually really cool. I'm starting to really enjoy this. I like it. It's really well written. And it's fucking weird as well. This just proves that in a story you do not need to have loads of things going on for it to be good. Holy shit.
マミやタクジが持っていた不気味な終末思想の観念対の空とやらを現実世界に存在させてしまうかもしれない
That's interesting, because I always thought that you could explain that by looking at the unknown, but is there actually a force of unknown in this story? Dude, she's literally fucking staring at you, but okay.
同じく俺は20日までマミやタクジだった可能性だってある奴と最後に会った時の奇妙な感覚はそんなものだったのかもしれない
And it's interesting to think about the fact that Takuji and Yukito could have such a consistent conversation, because maybe it could be argued that the Takuji then was... Well, no, the Takuji of then was... I don't really know. No, the Takuji then was Mamiya Takuji. There was no element of Yukito whatsoever, but it's interesting that that's the case, because it kind of is like you were talking to yourself, I suppose?
それどころか俺が次の瞬間には他の誰かであったとしてもわからないだろう俺が瞬間瞬間にランダムであらゆる人間に転生している
Yeah.
そんな可能性だって無限なる神は禁止しないだろうだとしてもこの今瞬間においては
Yeah, totally. Hang on to
俺
it.
は俺であろう
You never know how fragile it will be.
そのことに対して不都合がなければ俺はずっと水上ユキトであったと考えて差し支えない
Yeah.
だからさっきの質問に対しては同じ答えだよ無限のせいなど俺に想像はできない無限などない永遠などないだから俺は夢を見る
それは
生まれたての子供の夢だ
Yeah, of course. So I wonder how this is actually going to link to infinity. I just can't believe he was Takuji. I mean, I can because of the explanations that have been offered here, but still, it's very weird. They both ironically have the same dream, isn't that interesting? I like that. Life is technically a death sentence. It's just, it may take, I don't know, as long as a few minutes or days to over 100 years to actually be put into place. But life is technically a death sentence. I like that. That's hilarious. Yeah, seriously. Yeah. I kind of like the analogy with two birds that have wings that are knitted together. There's one that has the sweet fig. I suppose that's life. It indulges in all of the riches that life can possibly offer. And then there's death in the other end of the extreme. And the reason why I think of that analogy is just because of the fact that they are kind of knit together. You can't have one without the other. And I suppose you can have, well, you can be in a state of living or in a state of death. Yeah.
生とは死に至る病そのものだ。だけど生はやはり祝福もされているよ。
Yeah, because let's be honest, I mean, I'm nearly 18 and this is the first time I've ever thought about life as a death sentence. We live our life, we never really think about death actually existing. If anything, death is something that is tabooed until it's just around the corner, really. Something that is just talked about, or something that is refused to be talking about as if... Wait, hang on, let me just kind of think about what I'm going to say before I say it. I suppose, like in Takuji's speech, we live life as if every day is going to be eternal and as if we are never going to die, and that's a great thing. I think that is a very good thing. Even though Takuji obviously feels as if we are heading towards our death, the more we live, so obviously there's a problem. We should be panicked, and especially the world is made up of lies because of the fact that it tries to conceal so much of this. And also the mass media, because yes, the mass media, but yeah, it is.
無限なる神の一部だから永遠であるかどうかなどわからない。それでも生は祝福されているからこそ生への意志を人は持つ。
生への意志。
そうだよ。生への意志とはつまり
Yeah, I see that.
を愛することだ。
Nobody else is going to be living your life, so
そして
you live it the best you can.
自分を許すことだよ。
生への意志とは愛することと許すこと。
生きようとする。人だけじゃない。
Yeah.
すべての生物はさ、生きるとは良きことだけじゃない。
Totally.
悪いことだってたくさんある。
A positive life would be like a hell in infinity. You wouldn't want to have it, because obviously if the life was just positive, you would eventually... it wouldn't have any worth, and obviously... well, I mean, I suppose if life was just positive and it would be completely devoid of negative emotions, how would you get anywhere in life? How would you have any drive to do anything? Because, let's be honest, the reason why you have to do stuff in life is because of a negative feature. Like, if you don't try in life, you're fucked. So what is the actual point and worth in a life that is perfect? If you don't have to do anything in this world, what's even the point of living in it? Oh shit.
人が動物を殺してその肉を食らうことはその動物にとっては悪いことだろう。だが我
Fair
々は
enough, yeah.
その命によって肉によって生きながらえることができる。それは罪だと思うよ。
Yeah,
生
yeah,
物が生
totally.
きていく限り容赦なく罪を重ねる。でもさ、そんなことを仏教徒でもなければ罪だと考えないだろう。
Yeah, reasonable. If anything, there are some people that just take it as granted and they never really... they just go with the flow of life, really. Oh my fucking god, I can't believe I used that phrase. But anyway, they... well, it is kind of the most reasonable thing. They... well, it's like life is a breeze and they are just propelled by said breeze rather than, obviously, going backwards, trying to run in the opposite direction of the breeze. They just go forward without thinking and questioning what could possibly be there, but people are different. Obviously, if people think killing animals is, well, I mean, if people kill animals for the sake of it, that is objectively a sin, but meat ethics. I can never ever say that production of meat is ethical. And especially when it's not needed as well. But if it's unethical, if you're killing an animal and yet at the same time it is something that is needed in order to sustain your survival, that is probably when I would see the most justification for meat-related killings.
動物だってそんなことを罪だと考えない。
Well, they can't. They don't have the ability to. They're dead after. Well, before they know it, they're dead. And once they've been killed, they can't exactly think.
なんでだと思う？
なぜ？
それらを許しているからだよ。
What?
自然がそれらを許している。だから動物たちは罪を罪とも思わずに、ちゃんとそれらを許している。人もまた自分を許して生きている。
That is true.
神がいるかどうかなんて知らない。それでも神がいるとしたら、神は我々の多くの罪をすでに許している。生は呪われている。そして罪深いものだ。だが同じように生は祝福されている。だって俺たちは自分の生を許しているからだ。だから生は祝福されているよ。だけどさ、そんな身近な生は捕まえることはできない。我々は生の匂いも生の感触も
Well, we
感
define
じる
it,
ことがで
surely.
きない。
Our own experiences define how things like these are actually occurring.
生はそこにあるにもかかわらず、だから人間はそれに至ろうとする。それは回転のようにも見える。生へ至る回転運動。それを動かすのは多分生への呪いと生への祝福だ。
It's actually really interesting to think about the fact that the curses of life are just as interdependent as the blessings for... Well, they're just as interdependent for the overall flow of life, and it's interesting that... I just don't really understand why you could say this. I mean, there's one thing. I mean, sure, animals are a product of nature, but at the same time, so are we. Would we ever forgive someone killing us just for food? No, why would we? We protect our lives with everything we've got, just like animals do. But I find it interesting, if anything, ironically, nature doesn't just forgive it, it rewards it and it encourages it. Because, let's be honest, without meat, for example, human beings will not have as healthy of a lifestyle as meat gives them and enables them to have. So I really do wonder if when Yukito is mentioning the animals forgiving people, it just seems like such an unreal and unusual concept. I think I would like to look at this concept more as... I don't really know, because I just find it very tough to imagine why... I suppose animals are more of a product of nature. Well, everything is a product of nature, realistically. I suppose maybe you could think that... No, you can't actually, no. But maybe the only thing is, maybe the blessing of the curse that somebody has done here, and the sin, is from the forgiveness, but maybe that forgiveness could only be perceived by human beings because of how eating the animal obviously makes it so that they are benefited. I mean, let's say even, okay, it could be, for example, survival, or it could be, I don't know, you're just having a good restaurant meal, you're still benefiting from, oh my fucking god, it seems so horrible to say, but it's fucking true. I mean, if you have a nice restaurant meal, for example, you're benefiting from the killing of an animal. And by doing so, I suppose, and by enjoying the meal that you have eaten, that an animal has had to have died for, it's as if nature is rewarding you for being the predator in a way. It's very unusual. And it takes life to a very, Animal Kingdom-like way, and it kind of disregards human civilization in a way. It just takes us down to the core concepts of what the human race was originally supposed to do. I mean, let's be honest, human race was not originally supposed to do things like what I'm doing, i.e. talking at a screen. Because let's be honest, I mean, I get that I'm recording a video, but I'm kind of just talking into a screen in into a microphone.
幾億の呪い、幾億の
Yeah, that's interesting. And this is what makes the wheel of life turn. And the cycle of reaching for life as
あ
well.
なたがここで見る夢、その夢はあなたと同じ顔をしている。
Wait, what?
それは無邪気に笑う神様。それは幾度も繰り返された物語。それは祝福と呪いという二人の子供。天側の車輪は天の周囲を絶えず回転する。
I remember hearing 12 spokes before, actually.
それは決して老朽することなく、子供たちは対をなしてそ
Yeah,
の上に
that's
立つ。
exactly where, ironically.
彼らの素晴らしき日々は今ここという形で連続する。それこそを永遠の層という。ゆきとくん、
Isn't it interesting, the wheel of striving for life and the wheel of making it so that your life is something that can be lived with the addition of countless curses and blessings in said thing. It's interesting that here you kind of have the wheel rolling, obviously in heaven. That's interesting. Even though the desire to reach for life and not to die, it can make people do very bad things. It's in heaven. And order as well. Interesting.
Yukitoくんが好きだったんだと思う。
Oh my fucking god, that's interesting.
は
Oh
あ
god, that's weird.
世界を祝福できるユキトくんを、自らの生を祝福できるユキトくんを、生は自らによって愛されて許される。そしてその愛は自らと同一なものも愛するし許すことができる。
Oh yeah,
自
yeah,
分と
no,
同一なるものって
interesting.
なんだ？
世界。
世界？
ユキトくんは自らの生を愛し、そして許す。同じように世界を愛し、そして世界を許す。ユキトくんの祝福はユキトくん自身によって与えられる。ユキトくんは祝福されているよ。すべての人が生まれて、すべての人が死ぬ。不思議だね。それは子供が初めて世界と触れる驚きなんだと思う。その驚きは祝福される？
ああ、そうだな。
ありがとう。
ありがとう？
That's actually really interesting, all of the dialogue with Ayana about, firstly, her saying that I really did love you, Yukito, and if anything, ironically, the reference to that, and it's really odd to think... And I just think it's really quite funny to think about the fact that if Takuji is now Yukito, then who was Yukito originally? And then could you actually answer the question with Ayana? But the only thing is, wait, hang on a second. No, I find that a bit odd. No, you can't say that whatsoever, but... What is Ayana's true nature? Because this really feels like a reference to something that has been said in the past. But the only thing is, in the past we know that Takuji has said this to Yukito. But the only thing is that we know that Takuji has then become Yukito. But then again, I mean, Ayana says that Yukito was Mamiya Takuji until the end of the Tsui no Sora. The end of the Tsui no Sora. But seriously, yeah. But then I'm just confused on what happens then. But at the same time, the really weird thing about this is Takuji becomes Yukito. So who is Yukito and who is Ayana in this part of the story? Who have they become? Or maybe you could think about the theory, maybe we need to know Ayana's true nature for a theory like this to actually be answered. But I suppose maybe you could think that Ayana, maybe everything is with that belief about the fact that one soul is responsible for the entirety of life on the universe, and maybe that soul is Ayana's or something ridiculous like that. I don't know. I'm just kind of throwing ideas around now, to be honest.
私はこの世界で水上ゆきとくんに出会えたことを感謝してる。
Oh, totally, I agree. She doesn't seem like somebody who is stone cold and emotionless. She feels like somebody who is happy. Somebody who is more human than the Ayana we have seen in Tsubahibi. But to be honest, let's be honest, if we think about the theory that Ayana is a schizo and normal Tsubahibi, how can somebody facing a life that is as tough as the one she is facing ever be happy? Yeah, there are lots of things that are very, very unusual about the Ayana and Tsubahibi that we can't really see here whatsoever in this one.
なんだよそれ。
また会えるといいね。
また会える？
Are they going?
無限の中の一部に我々は存在する。
Oh my god,
だから
yeah.
無限の中でまたその一部に出会うだろう。
So that's how you think of this as subspecies aeternitatis, even. But the only thing is, I mean, I think it's ironic that Zakuro's logic of the fact that you were going to die in the hope that your soul can then be reincarnated, and then you are going to be able to see people spread throughout the universe that have the reincarnated souls of the other two, It kind of reminds me of that, but the only thing is, these people are not going to die. Or are they already dead? Considering that they may be within the afterlife already.
Nani wake ga wakaranai kotoを言ってるんだよ。
英語回帰とはある意味で祈りの思想なのだろう。
あのな、おとなしい。前にも言ったが、お前の話はそんな突拍子もないから友達できねえんだよ。
友達ならいるよ。
誰？
ユキトくん。
またそれか。
ユキトくんは
Of course they're friends. How could they have such an in-depth, passionate, and just in general informative and interesting conversation about such a strong interest if they were not friends? I'm sorry, but who would have a conversation like this with another person who they weren't friends with? And the only answer to this is two people who haven't realised that they are friends, who then quickly realise it by, I suppose, experiencing it firsthand.
この世界が存在した時からずっと英語に。ユキトくん
That's sweet.
好きだよ。
Oh. And the music is completely gone. Oh.
おとなし。お前な。
何？
Oh, she's so playing board games with us. Holy shit, she's just trolling us.
お前ことみ？
Wait, hang on a second. So the eyes, they look odd.
はい、私はことみですけど。何？どうしたの？突然叫び出したりして。
なんでことみが？
I just think it's hilarious to think about the fact that Ayana's theme is playing even though she isn't here, because I think this just properly proves the concept of the fact that well, it's the barrier. It's the abyss, if anything, and it is the proof that they are in the abyss. It's where the it's kind of like the intersection between the conceptual world and the world that is actually happening in reality, and the fact that they are both here. God, that's fucking weird. Oh my god, this is cool.
はあ？失礼だな。私が私の席に座っているのが不満なのですかね。
There is a lot of things that are wrong with you sitting at your own desk at the moment. I'm sorry here. Isn't it ironic that it's her own desk as well? I don't think that was always the case.
新学期も私が隣で残念でしたね。
いや、そうでなく。
Yeah, seriously. Yes. This is so fucking weird. Yeah, seriously. So I find it really interesting to think about the fact that Ayana says goodbye, knowing the fact that this is then going to change. And if I'm going to be honest, I really do get the impression that Ayana is always the person you feel instinctively is omnipotent, just because of things like these. Because of the fact that she could tell that something like this was happening. And maybe, if anything, she could make it happen by proving to Yukito what was going on. But why would she need to do that? I mean, like she said, Yukito is her only friend. She loves Yukito. Why would she need to change reality in order to prove a point when she can just simply live a life with Yukito? What's the problem? Why does she need to do this? What does it even show? What's the point?
おとなしは？
はい。
おとなしあやなだよ。
Oh, that's weird.
ちょいとユキトさん。
いてててててて、耳引っ張んな。
その 方は誰でしょうか？
I knew she was gonna say that.
は
私が隣じゃ不服なのはまあ半分許すとして、そのあやなちゃんって女の子は誰なのかな？
音無彩菜だろ。
だから音無しって誰ですか？
うちのクラスにいただろう。無口だショートカットな女だよ。
Oh my god, this is too
う
weird.
ちのクラスに
And she's not even in the class as well.
誰が？
音無彩菜だって言ってるだろう。
I don't think she does.
ゆきと大丈夫？
What? And that's the weirdest thing. It's not the case.
ねえ、まだ引きずっているの？
まだって？
確かにまだ1ヶ月半も経ってないけど。
はあ？ちょっと待て。今なんて言った？
That is really weird.
1ヶ月半。正しくは1ヶ月と10日だけど。
今日は何日だ？
本当に大丈夫？ゆきと。
いいから教えてくれ。
9月1日だよ。今日から2学期の始まり。ゆきと、本当に大丈夫？
God, I feel bad for Kotomiana. I mean, how can you say anything of what you have just experienced? Oh god, somebody's not having a fucking summer break! Jesus Christ, Ayana. I mean, I get that you want to prove a point, but at least give this guy a summer break.
少し寝ぼけてたみたいだ。
I know.
ゆき
Yeah.
と、本当に大丈夫なの？まだ学校休んだ方がいいんじゃないの？
いや、大丈夫だ。そういうことじゃないんだよ。
Yeah. Yeah.
ゆきと、
なんだ？
こんな映画知ってる？
Oh god.
映画？お前が映画のこと言うなんて珍しいな。そういうの見ないと思ってた。
うん、まあ、あまり見ないから覚えているのかも。
どんな映
Let
画？
me guess, it's called Tsui no Sora.
飛行機に突然トラブルがあってね。それでその飛行機無人島に不時着するの。
それで？
とりあえず何人か助かるんだ。でね、無線とかで助け呼ぶの。でもすぐ向かいますとか言って救助隊は全然来ないの。なんか明日には、あと数時間後には、あと何十分後にはとか言って。 ずっと来ないの。そのうち一人が気がつき出すの。自分たちはすでに死んでいるのではないかと。ここは地獄であり、永久に希望と絶望を繰り返さなければならないのではと。その時また無線が入って、もうすぐに助けに向かい
But
ます
will they be?
ってね。そこで映画は終わっちゃうんだよ。
Oh my god.
やっぱりこんなことが永久に続いたら地獄だよね。でもさ、幸せが永久なら。
Can I just mention that she is not talking like herself normally would?
それは
それは
ユキと。
なんだことみ。
変な声出してどうしたの？なんか変なユキとだな。
いや、なんだろう、夏休みボケかな。
あ、そうだ、ユキと。
なんだ。
Interesting about the plane crash movie. I really do wonder if that could have any relevance to what we're thinking of. I suppose it could kind of be like the continuity of reality, if anything, because what happens there is the plane crashes and then they have no idea of whether they are alive or if they are in the afterlife, and if anything, their nature of the world is so ambiguous that they can never tell where they actually are. And it kind of reminds me of Yukito in a way. And I do wonder what you could link hope to. I don't know, I mean, I suppose hope could be an indication of the past. Because what could happen is there could potentially be hope of other realities. I mean, I suppose there could be hope of other realities. Like, for example, Ayana talking to Yukito, that could be a sign of hope, because there is somebody who, I don't know, for example, Yukito really enjoyed talking to, and somebody who genuinely loved Yukito, who was there. And yet, there's no ability there left to be able to talk to her. And I suppose Ayana could be like the world where everything can be logically explained and the world where everything can be reasoned. That's reassurance. This is just hell. And Ayana is like the hope that will never come. Maybe. You sound really different.
おとぎ話。
Oh my fucking god. This is so weird. I'm so sorry for mentioning this, but hear me out, okay? I'm getting the same feeling I did when I played DDLC. Now, I'm sorry for saying DDLC in the context of Tsubahibi after one certain person that you probably know about. But I'm sorry, I'm just getting a similar feeling I got to that. It just feels like the same event being experienced with completely unknown settings. We know the characters, and yet at the same time it feels like there is so much more to learn about them. This is Kotomi, but is this the Kotomi of the reality that we have learnt? No! So, obviously, it just feels as if we are really experiencing a new character. I mean, you have the same voice, you have the same hair, face, body as her. That's about it. There's barely anything else we know. I'm sorry for mentioning DDLC. Please forgive me. I hope my point justified it.
その1話は甘き菩提樹の実を食らい、他の1話は食らわずして注視す。1話のわしは世界という菩 大樹の実を食べ
Oh
る
my
の。
god, that's hilarious. So in this analogy, is it as if Yukito is Takuji? So this is technically, this could possibly be Takuji technically talking to himself.
それは世界のすべて
This is so
を捕まえようと
fucking
す
odd.
るわし。このわしは聞き続ける。何に？そう。世界、なぜ私は存在しているのか。
Eats the world, interesting that.
そしてこのわしに答えるわけのない世界が答えたの。わしよ、それ以降に至るがよいと。それに対して他の一羽は菩提樹の実を食らわず注視するの。このわしは世界を見つめる。ただここに立っている。ずっとここに立って見つめている。世界を、世界、そうもう一羽のわしが捨てたもの、世界の姿を。そうしてそのわしは消えていく。
That really reminds me of Ayana. Isn't that ironic? Feels as if Yukito and Ayana were those two birds after all.
何もない。無の中にわしは消えていく。何の意味もなく、何の理由もなく。
Yeah. There wasn't any meaning or reason to Ayana's disappearance.
ただ消えていくの。多分捨てたものと捕まえたものを感じる心。それが菩提樹の実を食らわず
Yeah.
注視するわしなの。
琴美、お前なんか
何？
なぜその言葉を。
ユキトの部屋にあった漫画に書いてあったんだよ。
そうか。
ユキト好きそうじゃない、こんな話。
What the fuck? That's so weird. No, she sounded fully like Otonashi.
また一人で考え事してる？
Oh my god, and we're hearing this theme out of everything. Weird.
ごめん。
でもいいよ。だって
だって
新学期が始まったからね。一緒だね。
ずっと
ずっとずーっと一緒だよ。
I just find it really quite funny to think about the fact that this totally feels like a reincarnation of Otonashi's soul, just in a different body and person, really. Just feels like it's her. Sis. Oh god. How can you truly die in a world like this? Shit, what's gonna happen now? Oh, funny that we're having something like this as the ending. Isn't that ironic? Because let's be honest, it feels like this is the closest we would see to the terror of eternity. And if anything, ironically, I remember what the fuck? What is going on? That kind of scared me. Whoa. Okay, talk later. The fuck is this? Whoa. I got really scared there. I didn't expect that at all, to be honest. Showing us the proper terror of Otonashi-san. Showing all of the screams and the madness suppressed in the ridiculous amounts of reincarnations that would have to have happened for conditions like this to exist. I wonder if Ayana's going to fade into nothing at the end of this little montage. Well, no, it's a fucking sequence of still images, man. And maybe a few special effects, but can't really call it a video. Oh my god, so it's as if everything is... It looks as if it's becoming more like a screen. Oh shit, so what's going on now? Oh, so it's weirdly transitioning. The fuck? I'm really quite nervous. Oh my god, what? Oh. Oh, okay, so these are the credits. What was that? Did you see just on the bottom, on the third credit to the left? What are these credits? Sex! Recurring Fortnite porno. Well, I never thought I'd be saying the word Fortnite in a reading of Tsui no Sora Remake. What the fuck is that? Oh, it's the logo of the game, I'd assume. God, how unusual. Yeah. I really never know what I'm going to expect with the endings of these games. Oh, see the rooftop and the Ark. Some of the most pivotal locations in the story. Tsui no Sora. Luminosa 2. Right. Finn. God damn. Yeah, and isn't it funny that we get a really quite terrifying theme to finishing this, but there we go. Oh, there was a little glitch. Something blue at the top left as well. And there was something at the top right as well, but I missed that. What now? Oh, so that's it? Okay. Yeah. Fin. There we go. That is Tsui no Sora Remake done. So that was a really quite unusual end to the chapter. That was not really something I was expecting whatsoever, because we saw Ayana and Kotomi totally mixed personality. And I just find it so weird that firstly Yukito is somebody who is not really that interested in philosophy, who doesn't like the stuff, instinctively makes me think of Takuji, ironically. I think it's as if Yukito, the Yukito that we know and love from chapter 1, has kind of inhabited someone, I suppose the body of somebody who was Takuji. And I suppose Kotomi has inhabited the one of, well, the form and soul and body of, well, no, let's say the mind of, Ayana. It's so weird. It really is, and if I'm going to be honest, it took a turn that I was never going to expect, and I just find it interesting to think about the fact that it really shows the pure extent of terror that you get when the conceptual world and the real world intersect, and which one is the other, it remains unclear. And I just think it's so interesting to think about Ayana's love with Yukito, and if anything it kind of lets me experience this story as something that is very different, because you might ask the question of, is everything here just some sort of ridiculous love story? But at the same time, I find it very weird, because all of the personality, we've seen that through the changing of reality, I think that we've seen through the changing of reality here, we've been able to find out that characters are rapidly different. They may have the same looks, but at the same time they may have different minds. So that actually leads me to believe that Tsui no Sora is just everything until Numinouza is the same story experienced from different perspectives, and then this is where we see another element of the story, which I think, if anything, this could just be one twisted love story. We've seen one cycle of July 12th to the July 12th to the, I suppose, 19th, let's say, just to be safe, and then we have seen everything completely end, and I suppose the afterlife of the story in Numinouza. God, it's just so unusual to think about the fact that one time we head to the abyss, and if anything, ironically, we spend our time with Ayana. They go together. Whatever happens after is a complete mystery, whether she disappears, whether Yukito is left to live a life of eternity, who knows? I mean, they don't necessarily understand each other. If anything, it kind of feels like love through lust rather than love through genuine conversation. I mean, it's just a bit ridiculous that reality totally changes in that, so that... Oh my god, yeah, that's interesting. Reality changes in that, and Ayana uses that as a choice to seduce Yukito. But here, what happens is reality changes, and Ayana has a connection with Yukito, so much so that she uses it as if... Well, she inhabits the personality of somebody Yukito's close with, just so that Yukito can experience love with Ayana. I think maybe this is all just one big story in order to get Yukito and Ayana to love each other, and that's just so weird. I never would have expected that to be the case whatsoever, and I just really wonder how it began, firstly. I mean, obviously Ayana's true meaning as existence is always a mystery, but at the same time, I mean, I really do wonder if if something like that could be considered. So overall, that's the VN done, which is actually really quite hard to believe, but it's true. So I think overall this visual novel, it had a lot of really good parts. It had some parts that weren't very strong. I feel like this visual novel really, really varied in quality. There were some things that were very good. Yasuko's chapter was amazing. I really, really like Yasuko's chapter. And Takuji's chapter, I think it was a bit underwhelming. There were some parts that were really good, but some of it wasn't really the best. I think Yukito's chapter, I mean, Kotomi's chapter had a couple good moments, but it just really felt like it was the same as Yukito's chapter. It felt like there was too much similar. But at the same time, I love the moments of Kotomi and Yasuko, and just in general her perceptions towards the end of the world. Those were done well. And Yukito's chapter was nice as well. And that really set the theme for Yukito's desire for philosophy and just in general, Ayana as well. Isn't it ironic to think about the fact that you can see Ayana's face? And also, this is a detail I never really noticed, but look at her affectionate look here. Oh my god, that's hilarious. I never saw the fact that this was an affectionate look. If you look really closely, you can see the lines on the face that would usually indicate affection. Zakuro's chapter wasn't the best, to be honest. I didn't really like this one. I mean, her story was interesting, I won't deny. I just thought the gradual spiral into delusion, it was just so much worse than that of Tsubahibi. I just didn't like it whatsoever. But I mean, it had a few cool ideas, but it wasn't really, I just think it was a bit unrealistic. And same for the stupid H scene that was in here as well. But yeah, I suppose what was I then gonna say? Oh, I forgot what I was then gonna say. But yeah, it's just interesting, Ayana's chapters, and I just find it ironic that it's kind of like Tsubahibi in the sense that it just totally changes your understanding of the story and where the story is going to go. And it's interesting. I like the fact that in this story, you're gonna let me return? Thank you. The nature of reality is really ambiguous, and it feels like this story is way more aimed at just showing the building blocks of the world, and or at least within a certain interpretation that Skagi has had, and how fragile they are and how vulnerable they are to change. And I think it's done really well, and there are so many fucking cool concepts I've seen. I will always say that my favourite scenes from this visual novel are the ones in like the Kowloon Walled City and just in general all of the really cool Lovecraftian monster scenes and just the unusual things from those. There were so many things that were just fucking ridiculous in this visual novel. So with the OST as well, there were some very good OSTs. For example, the Chapter 3 credits theme, and also the theme that I just mentioned. The theme of the scene I just mentioned, the Kowloon Walled City one, where we saw Nyarlathotep. And the Lovecraftian element, I thought that was quite cool of this story as well. But yes, I found the loops, they were interesting to see in the beginning. They just got really boring sometimes. And in the end, they were just things that you didn't really pay attention to, but I can't deny that the music did get a bit boring sometimes. But overall, I had a good experience with this visual novel. It is now time for me to show you guys what I'm going to read next. This. I'm going to read this, and oh my god, 38 achievements. That's going to be quite something. But then we are going to be beginning this series, i.e. we are beginning a fucking massive set of visual novels. I expect this to take me to the end of the year, genuinely, and maybe even beyond that. I don't know. Like, seriously, I think it's going to be a big commitment. And then I'm going to read the Fata Morgana series. I don't know what I'm going to do after that, but that's what I've got planned in the short term. But yeah, if you guys don't really care about my content, or no, let me rephrase that, because I kind of sound like a dickhead when saying that. If you guys don't really want to stick around for any more, thank you for watching everything that I've done. But if you want to stick around, then I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys in the Kimi ga Nozomu Eien and Love series, because that's going to be really quite something. And yeah, I think I might actually be the first person to do a Let's Play of Kimi ga Nozomu Eien. I don't know though. But yeah, it's going to be really quite nice to give this a read. This is a very niche visual novel, if I'm going to be honest. I now know about this, but I haven't really known about this for much time whatsoever. I've only known about this for maybe 2 weeks. So it's really quite new for me. And I'm excited to experience it. But that visual novel is very long. It's going to be taking me a long time. So yeah, I hope you guys are looking forward to it, really. And see you then if you decide to stick by. And obviously, thanks for watching the Tsui no Sora series.